no Create React app, so what do we do now, right? And if you look at the React docs, and you're probably familiar with, like, they suggest now for proper applications to go with some production-grade framework, right? And these are great choices, right? There's Remix, there's Next.js, Gatsby. But what if you're not ready to go full framework just yet? You just want to explore, get started with a simple React app, pure React app. They have some choices, actually, down here. So there's kind of a bit hidden. But you can use, for instance, Vite or Parcel to set it up. And again, Vite, for instance, has a really great templating setup that can you get started, but they are kind of a generic bundler, right? So that's their kind of main topic there. So I want to show how, for instance, you could do something similar with NX. And you might know NX maybe from a monorepo thing. Maybe some of you have been here yesterday. So not going to talk about monorepos, but actually about a similar thing that we did, which is what we call standalone applications. Right, so NX has facilities built in that is not just useful for a monorepo setup, but can even help you set up something that is very close to what Create React App did, but with some modern features. And so you can create a new workspace like this one here, and this will boot you up. You can already see you have different choices in terms of bundling mechanisms, like Vite, Webpack, or RSpec. And I did this already, so we kind of saved some time installing stuff. But basically, this is what you will get out of such a workspace. So you can already see it's kind of pretty similar to what the Create React app might look like. So you have a source folder at the root, one app only. There's a couple of other things in here. And you can just literally do an npm start, right, and it will boot up your application in development mode. Now here it's Vite, and it serves it up in your browser. Now, why would you choose this? Like, you can go a step further, because we, for instance, like coming a bit from the monorepo scenario, we suggest people to modularize their applications. So instead of sticking everything into this source folder, what you can do actually is leverage some of the NX generators and, let's say, set up a new library in here. So I can say the NX React plugin provides you a library generator. And let me create some products library. And as a directory, I'm going to use modules. You can choose whatever you want, really. So what test run do we want to use? We want to use vtest, as fastest one. Don't need a bundle right now. And so what will happen here, you can see I create such a library, which allows me to represent that unit or business context for developing products. You can see here there's a clear entry point, which allows me also to think about private and public APIs. And I can expand it like this. If you don't know these commands, these generators by heart, which is totally understandable, we also have an extension for VS Code and Web Store. And so what you could do here is, for instance, go here, say generate library, React, let's say you want an orders library as well, choose a bunch of stuff, and then run just the generator. And we create me here such a new orders library here as well. Now, all of these are exposed via ts-based config. And so meaning it is very easy for me to import them, because it's literally an alias to pointing to that folder that we just created. And so we can go to the app here and say import from this package that we just had, orders, right? And I could do just the same thing for module products and have that imported there as well, right? And so I have both of them, and I can reference them, obviously, in my application and use them. We can even visualize this, just as I showed yesterday for those of you that have been here, in an NX graph. Now, let me help you out a bit here. So basically, you can see here, this is my workspace structure. It shows me there's an end-to-end test as well with Cypress that links to the Create React app, to module orders, module products. And so you can get a rough idea how you can potentially modularize these things. There's even features that allow you to kind of create boundary lint rules around these to make sure which imports are allowed, which not. And this is how we suggest people to kind of scale things up. Now, coming from the monorepo space, obviously, what you could do as a next step is, once you have an app built up and it's kind of modularized, what about having a proper monorepo, right? And so this would be a possibility where you can upgrade then this workspace, move it in an actual monorepo structure where you can see the same app here, you see the same order and products libraries in there, and maybe at this point you're ready to add Next.js application or Remix application, right? Now I have added that already in my package.json. So what I did there is I added this NX Next plugin. There's actually a ton of community plugins out there as well. And so what this allows me now is to do the same thing. I could go and generate here an application with Next.js. Those are the two I have installed here. I have here my Next app. right? I run the same thing. It will now pull down the packages, install them, and here basically inside my apps folder, I will get my Next.js application, and I can reference them in the very exact same way as I did before. Right, and so this can be a migration strategy. I'll let here the installation go. But this is can be kind of a modularization strategy and also migration strategy. If you have a React application and you want to modularize it slowly through to a more modern and more full stack application that, for instance, my Next.js or Remix would allow you. And so if you're thinking now, well, this is all cool and nice, but I have already a great React app, how do I get to something like this? Well, if you go to our documentation, we also have something like an automate migration. So our generators cannot just generate new stuff, but it can also take your existing Create React app, for instance. You run npx nx in it. It understands this is a Create React app and can even migrate this from a Webpack Create React app-based setup to an NX-based Vite setup with React, right? So those are some possibilities of how you can migrate. If this is interesting, definitely get in touch. We have also booths outside, so we can dig a bit deeper. I can show you some more details which go beyond the 7 minutes that I had. So thanks.